The practice of cremation refers to the offering of bodies to fire as a means of post-mortem disposal, a custom that varies surprisingly and interestingly across different cultures and religions. The practice of cremation dates back to ancient times, with evidence of the practice dating back to the Bronze Age, circa 2000 BC. Cremation was a means of purifying the soul and preventing the spread of disease. The Greeks and Romans used cremation as a method of burying prominent figures, such as leaders, nobles, and warriors. The ritual was often accompanied by memorial feasts, and the ashes buried in special vessels. Cremation was a symbol of honoring the deceased and ensuring their souls passed peacefully. In ancient Hindu traditions, cremation is seen as a means to liberate the soul from the physical body, allowing it to progress into the cycle of reincarnation. Ancestor ceremonies range from offerings of rice and sesame seeds to lighting the funeral pyre, reflecting the belief that fire is a purifying and sacred force. It was said that the flames took the souls to the afterlife, carried by the smoke that danced towards the heavens. In Hinduism, cremation is considered a sacred tradition, as it is believed that the body must return to the basic elements, fire, water, earth, and air, after death. Bodies are usually cremated on the banks of sacred rivers, such as Ganges River in India, and the ashes are scattered into the river as part of the spiritual ritual, as it helps the soul to leave the body and be freed from the cycle of life and death, samsara, and attain salvation, moksha. On the other side of the world, among the Vikings, ancient northern European cultures, cremation was also a significant practice. They believed it sent the souls of the deceased to the afterlife. The fiery goodbye was often a grand affair, sometimes involving a wooden boat set ablaze, often along with their possessions, sending the departed on their last voyage, laden with goods and weapons for their next life. It is believed that fire helps the soul reach Valhalla, the realm of heroic warriors. In Buddhism, cremation can also be a common practice, largely dependent on local and regional culture, rather than being an essential component of the faith itself. Cremation is viewed as a means of achieving release of attachment to the physical body. The goal is to help the soul safely transition to the next life. It is common in countries like Japan and Thailand. The details vary slightly depending on the country and local traditions. According to Buddhist belief, the soul enters a new cycle of life, rebirth, based on karma. This tradition is spiritually and emotionally charged and is linked to profound beliefs about life and death. In contemporary Japan, cremation is the most common method of disposing of bodies, accounting for approximately 99%. A primarily Buddhist country, Japanese cremation practices are influenced by Buddhism's perception of impermanence and the natural cycle of birth and rebirth. Cremation is seen as a means of purifying the body and returning the soul to the natural world. The process involves careful steps, such as a family member picking bones from the ashes using chopsticks, reflecting respect and closeness in mourning. In other religions, such as Sikhism, cremation is used as a method of disposing of the body without a strong emphasis on religious symbolism, but rather as a practical and sometimes economical method, although some may prefer burial. Moving to the modern Western world, cremation is increasingly practiced in the West as an alternative to burial due to limited space and increased costs. The ashes are preserved in special vessels or scattered in symbolic locations. It's often perceived as more economical compared to traditional burials and is sometimes chosen for ecological concerns as cemetery space becomes scarce. Modern methods such as alkali dissolution have emerged to reduce the environmental impact of cremation. For Indigenous Americans, Australians, cremation isn't a uniform practice, but is rich with regional diversity. Some groups practice it not only for its pragmatic disposal, but also as a symbolic gesture, returning the body to nature. The smoke from cremation is believed to help the soul transition to the afterlife. Traditional Africans. Some African tribes cremate bodies to free the soul and prevent it from remaining in the physical world. Ashes are sometimes used in symbolic rituals to enhance communication with spirits. Ancient Mesoamerican, the Aztecs and Mayans used cremation as part of their funerary rites, with the ashes buried in sacred sites. Fire was considered sacred and used to transform the body into a new symbolic form. East Asians, in China and Korea, cremation has recently become popular due to the lack of burial space. Urns containing ashes are buried in family graves, while maintaining traditional rituals to honor ancestors. In Christianity, burial is preferred as a means of anticipating the resurrection, as the belief dictates that the body will be resurrected on the day of judgment. The Eastern Orthodox Church rejects cremation altogether, considering it religiously and morally unacceptable. Protestantism accepts cremation with greater flexibility. In the 20th century, the Catholic Church permitted cremation under certain circumstances, but burial remains the preferred method. In general, acceptance of cremation is gradually increasing in the modern Christian world, especially in areas with limited burial space. However, burial is preferred in many traditional denominations. In Islam, cremation is explicitly forbidden, considering it an insult to human dignity, with emphasis on burying bodies according to religious principles. The primary reason for this prohibition is respect for the body as a trust from God and the necessity of burying it as it is. In traditional Judaism, Orthodox Judaism, cremation is strongly disapproved and is considered a violation of bodily sanctity. The body is considered sacred even after death and must be buried intact and undisturbed within 24 hours of death. However, in more liberal denominations, such as Reform Judaism, it may be acceptable under certain circumstances, while traditional burial remains preferred. From these different customs, we can see the diversity of cultural and religious relationships with the body after death, and how this is reflected in the ways it is disposed of across the world.